Live action villain portrayals? I think I might actually have a list for that. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. As you heard at the top, I'm here to talk about something that I'm honestly surprised that I have not done yet, and that is a list of some of my favorite live action portrayals of villains in comic book movies. You know me, I'm a sucker for doing favorite lists, so honestly the fact that this one hasn't come up yet is surprising, and honestly now that I think about it, I don't know if I've done a hero one either, so that might be something I follow up with. We'll see how everyone likes this one. So, with that said, I have a list of 6 and 1 honorable mention. So, remember, these are just like my opinion of some of my favorites. I'm not saying that these are the absolute best. These are just the ones that I've enjoyed the most over my many years of watching movies. So, starting at number 6, let's jump right into it, and this one might throw a little bit of a curveball at you. So, it is James Sato, who played Shredder in the original TMNT movies, specifically the first one and the second one, The Secret of the Ooze. I don't think Shredder was in the third one where they go back to ancient Japan. I could be wrong, but I'm not the biggest fan of that movie, so I don't remember, but I do know in 1 and 2, as the main bad guy, he was one of those ones that, the reason why he stuck with me, especially after, 30 years, 32 years, is because he is Shredder. He plays the Shredder character that I've come to know in comics, who's, 1, he's extremely smart, 2, he's a martial arts master, which sometimes gets lost in the mix with him, and 3, just that voice that was used for the character. I mean, that for me is one of the best. Just sitting here and just like, I challenge. That's a really, really bad version of it, but that's the best one I can give you. But definitely for cool voice, he wins points there. But other than that, I mean, I absolutely loved it. And a lot of times wish I had more, or wish that he might have voiced the Shredder character in maybe some kind of animated capacity. That would have been really cool. But yeah, so number 6, James Sato as Shredder. Moving along, number 5 is going to be one that for a lot of people is not going to be a big surprise, and that is Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman from Batman Returns. This, for me, is one of the villains that is a bar setter, especially when I'm talking about females on screen, because Michelle, when she did this character, had a way of not only, of course, it was sexy as hell, for, pardon that, but it was, but when she was on screen, she commanded your attention. That's how great I think her portrayal of Selena Kyle / Catwoman was. She commanded your attention on screen, no matter who she was with, whether it was with, of course, Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, Christopher Walken, I believe, was in that movie, but she was always the center of your attention because you were wondering what was her character going to do once she had that accident where she was pushed out the window. And she did a great job of playing someone who's coming out of, some kind of dual personality change or psychosis and whatnot. It was awesome. And like I said, to this day, she's that bar for me, one of the bars for me when it comes to villains, and I absolutely love it. I know there are a lot of other people that love it. For me, as much as Batman 89 probably was the better overall movie, I still enjoy Michelle as a villain more maybe than Jack Nicholson as Joker. Yeah, I said it. Nothing we can do about it. Moving along. So, one thing that I did not mention at the top of this video is that these are live action portrayals, yes, but it does not have to be a movie. It can also be from TV shows, because there are a lot of comic book TV shows that have happened over the years, and that's where a few of these actually come from. So especially this next one, and that is John Barrowman as Malcolm Merlyn on Arrow. For those who have followed the channel for a while, you know that Jay and I loved Arrow during its entire run of 8 seasons. For me, it is still probably top 2 all time in superhero TV shows. I absolutely love Stephen Amell as that version of Arrow, and John Barrowman as Malcolm Merlyn was absolutely amazing. Of course, John is one of those guys where no matter what he does, he's good. But to see him in this capacity, because he's always been, for me, a very fun-loving guy. You see him, and to see him play this kind of a character where he's very serious, he's very, almost like a double agent, but he really is just as bad a person as you can imagine. I loved it. I still think that probably out of the entire 8 seasons, he's probably the best villain character on the entire series, which is probably why he's on this list. I know they had other ones, when Manu played Deathstroke, that was definitely, the villain side of him was definitely awesome, but I always come back to Barrowman as Merlin. And it's just one of those, it will always stick with me because of how great that character is and how much he affected the series in different ways with things that he did and whatnot. So I can go on and on forever about that one, but I'm going to move along. So, alright, so before we get into my top 3, I'm going to give you my honorable mention, and this one is an honorable mention because of the fact that it's still got that wow factor. It's still new. I'm still trying to process how I think of this character, but nonetheless, it's definitely worth noting. And that is Paul Dano as the Riddler in the most recent The Batman movie. Honestly, I've said it several times that this Riddler for me was like, you have Riddler with the character Anarchy and a bit of Joker all mixed into it. It was definitely a take on the character that I could not have personally imagined doing, just because I've never seen Riddler like that. Of course, I'm going off of what I've read, and of course other past portrayals on cartoons, movies, TV shows, etc. A lot of people might be upset that I didn't use Jim Carrey, and while Jim's Riddler was good, don't get me wrong, this take was it was stunning. He was probably the best part of the Batman movie, in my opinion. Just any time he was there, especially once they got the mask off, they had that scene in Arkham Asylum between him and Batman. I want more, and I hope that we get sequels, and I hope he comes back and reprises that role, because I want to see more. And I think that's probably part of why I don't have him on the list, even though some of these were one movie portrayals. But definitely one of those, let me know what you thought. Did you, in general, did you like the new Batman movie? What did you think of Paul's version of the Riddler? In general, let me know down in the comments. Let's have a friendly discussion. Okay, so with that said, my top 3. A couple of these might surprise you. Actually, I take that back. One of these might surprise you. The other 2, probably not so much, because they're pretty obvious. So, that said, number 3 is Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin from the Netflix, or now Disney Plus, Daredevil series. Yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio kicked ass in a major way with this portrayal of Kingpin. I truly do not know a ton about the character. I've read a couple of comics, and of course I remember the Spider-Man animated series from the 90s, that Kingpin. And of course, Michael Clark Duncan's Kingpin from the Daredevil movie in the early 2000s. This is another one of those where they give you his backstory and you see why he is the way he is. Of course, he's still extremely intelligent and always ahead of the curve. The strength is there, which is something that I've never actually understood about him. Like, is he, if anybody knows this, let me know, because I'm going to pose this question to you guys. Is he a mutant or a metahuman in some kind of way? Because his strength is ridiculous in every portrayal that I've ever seen of him. And I've never understood how it is, because he almost seems to have strength that can rival like Captain America or maybe Spider-Man, maybe not to that extent, but he definitely has a like way above average strength for a human. So if you know how he has that or the answer to that, please let me know in the comments. That's definitely something I want to know. But yeah, back to Vincent. It's one of those where I can't get enough of it when he's on screen. It is absolutely amazing. I'm excited for the fact that it looks like he's coming back with whatever they're doing. I believe they mentioned him in Hawkeye on the Disney Plus show. And of course, if they bring back Daredevil in any capacity, or if they finally throw him in with Tom Holland and Spider-Man in that universe, that's going to be something special, I think. That's the one thing that they haven't done yet for quite a while, is use Kingpin. So I'm really excited to see what they do with Vincent D'Onofrio, bringing him into the MCU. Alright, top two. You ready? So these two guys, I don't think you're going to be surprised at all about. So with that said, let's just jump right into it. Heath Ledger, Joker, Dark Knight. That's one of those, like, you have to. Now, I will caveat this whole thing by saying, when Heath was announced to play Joker, I really was like, really? Heath? Now, that's not to say that I was not a Heath Ledger fan. I loved him in most of the movies that he was in, but I'm like, Heath as Joker. Ugh. And thus coined the phrase that people have Heath Ledgered me when they play a character. If I just don't think someone is right for the part in my head, I remember that moment with Heath Ledger and like, man, I don't know if he's really good as Joker. And then he comes out and he's probably the best on-screen portrayal of Joker of all time. He has not yet been dethroned. I don't know if he will. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, so if you want a good example of getting Heath Ledgered, I was kind of on Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. She Heath Ledgered me. She won me over with her performance in Batman vs Superman. I was like, okay, Gal can do this. And Heath, like I said with Michelle, Heath was the best part of The Dark Knight. Christian Bale was obviously great as Batman, but Heath made that movie. Absolutely made that movie. And I truly wish that he could have been around to see the success that role had and the legacy that it's left and everything. But nonetheless, he is watching from above. And hopefully he's seen from up there that, he did some amazing work with that. The one thing that I will say is that I recently learned about him playing the character. There were so many articles and things that I have seen where people have said that he got lost in alcohol and drugs while portraying the character and got into a real dark place. And yet recently I got to check out an interview with Michael Jai White, who was one of the gangsters in the movie, and he said, nah. He goes, Heath was, the camera turned off and he was joking, he was having a good time. He said it was the exact opposite of what everyone had said it was. So it was good to know that Heath was still himself, and you got it from someone who was there on set and got to see him and interact with him. He said Heath was one of the greatest people he ever got to work with. So for anybody who's never seen that interview, look it up on YouTube. It's definitely something to... It's really cool to see. Michael Jai White's another guy that I'm a big fan of actor-wise. So definitely find that interview, check it out, let me know what you think. Alright, so number one. Number one is partly influenced by the fact that he was brought back into this role in the new Spider-Man movie, and that probably will give it away as to who it is. And it is William Dafoe as Norman Osborn / Green Goblin. I remember how good it was in the Tobey Maguire movies, but to see him come back almost 15, 20 years later in No Way Home, and this character still be an absolute savage like he was. There are people that are born to play roles, and William Dafoe playing that Green Goblin is magic on screen, and for that reason he's number one on my list, because man, he made me hate him. He made me want to punch him. He tapped into a bunch of different emotions by what he was making all, Tom Holland specifically go through, and what he's done in all the movies. And it's one of those where I hope, again, we do get more of it, but I understand if the way they ended it with him getting the serum, that's the end of it. But man, would I love to see it just one more time. One more time. I can't get enough of it. Alright guys, so that is my list. Like I said, some of those are probably, you're like, really? Some of those obviously are not big surprises. Let me know down in the comments what some of your favorite live action portrayals are. I actually posed this question on my Facebook page. I got some really cool answers. Some were talking about the villain from Flash Gordon. Another person was talking about they love Tom Hardy's Venom, even though he's more of an anti-hero than he is a villain. Of course, Woody Harrelson's Carnage was one that was brought up. There were several others. Of course, Catwoman was one that was mentioned several times. But I got a lot of cool answers. So definitely leave a comment and let me know what you think. As always, if you like what you see, please hit the thumbs up button, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you know anytime that we upload a new video. We will probably have something here on screen somewhere of another video that you can check out. Anyways, you guys stay safe, stay healthy. I'll catch you next time. Later, everybody.